This weekend, Greg Murphy is off pole in the HRT Commodore. Russell Ingall alongside him. Row 2 is Alan Jones and Peter Brock.
Out of row 3, Larry Perkins and Neil Crompton moving up through the field. Wayne Gardner starts out of row 4 with Tony Longhurst and the Castrol Ford.
The 5th row, we see John Faulkner, the top of the privateers. Alongside him, Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Falcon. Paul Romano out of position 11 and Mark Poole.
Out of row 7, Steve Ellery in the Team Konica Falcon with Wayne Russell all the way from Newcastle, Nova Castrian Holden. Row 8, Danny Osborne in the Colour Scan Ford and Gary Wilmington in the Gary Wilmington Racing Falcon.
Position 17 is John Bow, and if Dick Johnson was racing, he would have been out of position 18. 19 is Kevin Heffernan in the Price Attack Commodore alongside Thomas Mazira. Well, that's how they shape up for this second race, and yesterday afternoon was very interesting. One man who is sitting right with us here today, who knows this track like the back of his hand, he has raced in multiple categories. Charlie O'Brien, good to see you again, Charlie, and it was certainly spectacular yesterday.
Lee, it certainly was. What an exciting race it was. The beginning of the race, they had to stop it because of Glenn Seaton running into the wall due to an accelerator being stuck. A very frightening experience seeing that concrete, knowing you can't do a thing about it. And then, of course, the Dick Johnson, John Bow incident down the back. John just protecting his line a little, going into that back chicane, and Dick just misjudging, being sitting right behind the car. It's very difficult to see the corners coming up.
Your thoughts on this young guy who just went out of shot just there, the young Kiwi who now resides in Melbourne, Greg Murphy, had a very sensible run yesterday.
Well, Greg's got it all at his feet. He's got a great car, a great team. The tyre combination that the Mobil HRT car are running on is certainly probably still the best, and he's on pole position, so you know, he's really looking for another win today.
Don't discount the man who is sitting right alongside him in the Castrol Commodore car number 8. Russell Ingall was running very strongly yesterday. He was only a couple of seconds behind Greg Murphy. Indeed, we found out that he had some problem with the front valves in his car, and of course that created a little problem for him, and that's why he just drifted off the pace if you saw yesterday afternoon's race. And Mark, he's certainly going to be one to watch.
Certainly will, Lee. Yeah, there was a problem with the front bleed-off valves on the front tyres. The tyres, as they get up to temperature, they increase pressure. These bleed-off valves keep them at the optimum pressure, but he had some problems. The tyres got harder and harder. He had more and more handling problems, and he had to slip back through the field, but they've got that fixed, so expect some fireworks from Russell Ingall today. Also, Alan Jones moved up to 3rd position for the start, and expect some fireworks from AJ on home territory.
The previous races we've seen here at Surfers Paradise for the V8 Supercars have been 10 laps in duration. This one, and yesterday afternoon, 20 laps, so it's twice the distance, and Charlie, it's going to be quite demanding on the drivers.
Oh, Lee, it certainly is. As I said yesterday, one of the things around this track, it is so tight and the walls are so close to you at great speeds, you are mentally fatigued as well as physically fatigued. You don't want to clip those curbs too much and bounce into the wall. So today, 20 laps, it's going to be very difficult.
We've got a car stalled on the grid, Charlie. Peter Brock, it is. Hand out the window, talking to the boys on the intercom. Delayed start is the official board from the officials at the starting grid. So Peter Brock in 05, some sort of problem there, but he stalled the car and they've called it a delayed start. So boy, the V8s really have been out of luck this weekend. All sorts of interruptions with accidents or whatever. Now they've got a delayed start. They try to get into heat 2 of the Hog's Breath Supercar Challenge.
I'm glad they had delayed the start. Sometimes they may actually start the race with the driver's hand out. This track is, again, as I say, too narrow, and it would have certainly been another accident. So a smart move in delaying this for Peter.
Let's just stay with Peter Brock for a moment. Let's see if we can hear what he's saying.
I think he was saying something to the crew about the clutch. He may have had a clutch drama. I noticed the mobile car rolled forward out of its starting position as he came up to take his position. So he could be having a problem there. Something in the drivetrain or the transmission. Marshall's now trying to get him off the track by the look of it.
Well, the word is that he will go into pit lane and start rear of field once they get the car going again. They're having to move Russell Ingall out of position as well to let Peter through.
Just an indication of how narrow it is on this main straight, Charlie. You've got to move one car out of the way to get around. There is no room for error.
It's certainly a worry, Marcus. It's, at 160 miles an hour, it looks a lot narrower than that, I can tell you.
Well,
before we went to that last break, you heard Peter Brock say, I'm right up there amongst them and I'm going to give him a real good shakedown. And now he's going to be quite disappointed. He has to start from pit lane, rear of field. He was going to start from 4th position off grid. He was right amongst it, alongside Alan Jones. Now that's going to make his race very, very hard. A lot of work to do.
Well, it's a shame for Brock. He was really on fire yesterday, really taking it up to the V8 Supercar stars, but and he's going to lose now that great 4th position. Leaves Alan Jones all alone on the 2nd row. They'll go for another warm-up lap. Green flag being waved, so another formation lap for the V8s before they head off on this 20-lap encounter.
They wind their way around. The drivers would be feeling a little bit anxious at the moment. We've just received word from race control this moment that it has been reduced to 19 laps. 19 laps as opposed to 20. And that could have something to do with the time delay that we've already had. And then, of course, Peter Brock's car stalling. So the race has been reduced by 1 lap, 19 laps, which is exactly the same duration they had yesterday afternoon.
It'll be interesting to watch. Just looking at Alan Jones' situation now, he's moved his way up to 3rd position after that great result in Heat 1. Now he's all alone. Now we're back with Peter Brock, and there is some work going on. You can see he's got his knees up behind the wheel, and I think he was motioning to the crew. He had some problem with the clutch, so they look like they're working around the pedal area with the Mobile 05 Commodore.
Check the tyres. So what happened is then...
So Peter Brock talking to his crew, and another guy from the Mobile Holden Racing team trying to come to the rescue. Let's go back with Brocky.
Well, wait. Does it feel like it goes over centre? Sounds like it, yeah.
So it was a problem with the clutch.
Mark, I'd say what's happening there is that he's run out of travel with the clutch. They're trying to get a bit more adjustment out of the stop that's on the floor to actually be able to get it into gear. Peter may opt, because you can drive these gearboxes without a clutch at all, he may opt to get a push start out of the pit lane and continue in this race driving without a clutch. It'll be quite interesting to see what he does.
Well, I think he's probably running out of options now. He's going to have to start from the back of the grid in any case. And the boys working feverishly away at the pedal box.
You just put your foot on the clutch, please, Pete.
It's a very challenging circuit to make passing manoeuvres, and so Brock has got a very big challenge ahead of him. Have a look there at the Cummins, Fisher and Paykel Commodore. That is John Faulkner, the top of the privateers, the best of the privateers yesterday. He was quite happy with that, although he has been experiencing some problems with the car. Kind of almost doesn't make sense, Charlie. He's a second and a half quicker on last year's times, but he was saying to me yesterday that he's about 8 kilometres down on power on the other cars. So he's obviously got good handling, but he's scratching his head. He can't work out why he's slower.
Well, I would say that the other cars, having a bigger budget, have exceeded through the year in finding extra horsepower. Being a privateer and on a limited budget, you do find it difficult to find the resources you need to get that 10, 15 horsepower more that the other cars have gained through the year. So I'd say that's probably the reason.
If you're wondering, it is the same John Faulkner from the Australian Super Speedway Series, ex-Oz car driver, now racing NASCARs, and of course he loves this category that he's in now, the V8 Supercars.
Well, he certainly came in with a bang at the 1,000 kilometre race at Bathurst last year. Got himself into the top 10, privateer in the top 10 in that sort of company. Was an outstanding effort. Ex-Holden Racing Team car running on Bridgestone tyres, prepared by Les Small. And here's Peter Brock, who will be starting from pit lane, no doubt. I hope they've fixed that clutch problem.
I think it's going to be okay now. It was just a matter of consequence.
Well, Brocky telling the crew he thinks it's going to be okay, so we've got our fingers crossed for the 9 times Bathurst winner. Absolutely charging yesterday, and he's going to start from the back of the grid. He's got a lot of work to do.
Someone who has just been plugging away very nicely, very quietly, and is starting from position number 3. You heard Mark Osler talk a little about him before, is Alan Jones. He has been going very well, had a consistent round, the opening round of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship at Calder Park in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. He is looking good. Let's go down to the pits. Here's John Smales.
And I'm standing with Jeff Gretchen. Jeff, what's wrong with Peter Brock's car?
Well, the clutch went right to the floor. Without getting underneath the car and actually having a look, we really don't know what happened, but we've been able to release it back, and it's actuating okay now. So he's going to go out and hopefully things will be right.
But with these walls so foreboding, a real problem.
Oh, you can't leave him out there until you know what. Excuse me, I want to say that until you know what the problem is because of the walls.
We are ready for a start. Away we go. The V8 Supercars are off. Greg Murphy got away to a great start. So too did Larry Perkins around the outside of Alan Jones. So he slots up with his Castrol Commodore teammate in Russell Ingall as they all get away to a reasonable start. Someone at the back there, whether it was Mark Poole or not, but it's Murphy, Ingall. Then we go back to Perkins, Jones. There, your top four at the moment. Heading down into the MCI chicane.
Neil Crompton jumping out of 6th position, he's up to 5th. Got the jump on Longhurst, so Crompton a great start too as they hammer down toward dive turn for the first of 19 laps. Building up to 215 kilometres an hour before they brake hard. It's Murphy in control from Ingall, Perkins, Jones, Crompton, then it's Longhurst.
Just got a quick glimpse of John Bowe back there with Stephen Ellery. He is a long way back, a lot of work to do, of course, with that accident yesterday afternoon, but don't discount JB. They take it onto the back straight for the first time, and Greg Murphy, the HRT Commodore, would be looking to escape as quickly as he can, but Russell Ingall is one man who is going to be charging hard and trying to stay with him.
Ingall is the man to watch. He's been very close to Murphy throughout qualifying. He was very fast in the opening laps of yesterday, seemed until he had that problem with his front tyres. Don't expect the same sort of retraction from Ingall today.
Tony Longhurst slotted in between the two Coke Commodores of Neil Crompton and Wayne Gardner. Longhurst was running as high as 3rd yesterday, then had a little problem. He had a spin going into the tight left-hander in dime turn, and that put him back down the field.
Well, John Bowe, just at the top of your screen there, is already up to 11th position, an absolute flyer in the Shell Ford. There he is, lights ablaze, car 18, the Shell Helix Falcon, and he's really on a charge.
He wouldn't have enjoyed yesterday. He was the only man to have won all the V8 Supercar races here at Indy until yesterday when Greg Murphy spoiled that record when he won yesterday's race. John Bowe will be looking to work his way through. He is sitting in right behind the Konica Falcon of Stephen Ellery.
He really is something special, John Bowe, at the absolute height of his powers, squeezing everything out of this Falcon. And expect a lot of fireworks from him this morning. 214 kilometres an hour as they come past on their first flying lap. Greg Murphy in control in the mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore from Ingall. Then it's Perkins, Jones right for him. Crompton locks a little break in the Windscreens O'Brien Commodore as they swing up toward the MCI chicane.
Russell Ingall having that problem yesterday with the air pressure. I know it doesn't sound a lot, but a couple of pounds can make a difference around here. And if they have fixed that little problem, I think we'll see Russell move up on the back.
He was doing that yesterday. He was within a couple of seconds of Murphy, and then he got very close. We have a look at the top 5. It's Greg Murphy who leads the way. Ingall, Perkins, Jones and Crompton. They are your top 5 runners at the moment.
Yeah, with Peter Brock. As he swings through dime turn up toward Bartercard, trying to work his way through the privateers. Saw him start from pit lane, a bit of a clutch drama. Holden Racing Team manager Jeff Gretsch saying they've fixed the problem, so Brock will be on fire. Look at Murphy, just disappears out of screen. Ingall in pursuit. The two Castrol Commodores with Perkins in 3rd position.
Two Castrol Commodores receiving some new UK Dunlop rubber for this weekend, and it seems to be working pretty well. We've got a Bridgestone shod car out in front, then the two Dunlop machines of Ingall and Perkins.
Look at that spectacular shot through the Foster chicane. You can see how hard they're hammering these cars, bouncing them off the ripple strips one side to the other. They really give these 1.3 tonne, 1,300 kilogram V8 touring cars a workout around here. Here comes John Bowe. Hasn't managed to get past Stephen Ellery. And I'm expecting Stephen Ellery to be quite a tough customer. He's certainly proving his mettle these days.
Greg Murphy thoroughly enjoying his time in V8 Supercars here at Surfers Paradise. He raced here last year in a Super Tourer. He is now the young gun of the mobile HRT outfit. Thoroughly enjoying it. He was wrapped with his win yesterday. There is the speed as they go across the start-finish line. 222 kilometres per hour to Greg Murphy. Ingall, Perkins, they are still your top 3. Positions haven't changed. They're approximately around about 20-25 kilometres off their maximum speed, so we'll keep an eye on that as the race progresses.
Greg Murphy not mucking about here, a 1:56.68, his first flying lap. Everyone else in the 57-second bracket. So he's starting to stretch it here. Ingall trying to hang on by his fingernails, but you can see Murphy building that lead. 1.6 seconds was the gap as they crossed the start-finish line that time around. Here comes Murphy, braking hard, back through the gears, up toward Bartercard turn. A nice, fast entry onto the straight as they race down the beach.
Mark, it's a little early yet to say, but with the Bridgestone and the Dunlop tyres, some tyres take a little longer to come up to temperature, and I think we'll see a distance generated there in a few laps' time when either of the tyres come into their own.
We ride now with Wayne Gardner in the Coke Commodore. He is looking at the back of Tony Longhurst. Look how hard he is working. His teammate Neil Crompton is one car up ahead of him. We'll let you ride with Gardner for a moment.
Just tightens up the strap on his glove, coming a bit loose there. And this cockpit's all full of gloves and hands, moving, working hard. Look at him throw this car at these curbs through the Foster chicane, just brushes the wall. And we take another angle. Wayne Gardner, the 1987 World Motorcycle Champion, hard at work in the big Aussie V8 Commodore.
There it is. But Gardner right now in 7th position. Your leader Greg Murphy, and stretching that to nearly 2 seconds over Russell Ingall, trying to stay in touch. Larry Perkins, Alan Jones, Neil Crompton. That's your top 5. Longhurst, Gardner, Larkham, Faulkner and Steve Ellery. As the big V8s continue at Indycarnival, we'll be back with more.
Welcome back to the 1997 Indycarnival. The V8 Supercars are roaring around the circuit. We just got some beautiful pictures there from the Whitman's Chocolates airship. We are watching the battle here for 6th and 7th between the Castrol Falcon of Tony Longhurst and the Coke Commodore of Wayne Gardner. They're battling it out as they were yesterday. Crompton, Longhurst and Gardner. This is almost a duplicate of yesterday's battle in exactly the same positions as well.
And meanwhile, up ahead of this battle, Lee, just looking at this gap between Greg Murphy and Russell Ingall, was out to 1.8. Ingall's brought it down by a couple of tenths. He's just on a faster lap than Murphy last time around at 1:56.58, only 100th of a second faster, but it shows he's matching the pace of the leading car 15.
Now, while we were on the break, we had word from race control that John Bow has been black flagged with a fuel leakage, and he is now rejoined the circuit. So the weekend couldn't get any worse for the Shell Helix team, Charlie.
No, it certainly couldn't, Lee. I would say that the damage sustained yesterday from the crash between John and his team boss, Dick Johnson, has created this little problem. It's a shame because John is certainly out of the running now.
Well, here he is here. He is around the back part of the, heading onto the back straight now. As you can see, all by himself.
Yeah, has not been the best of weekends for the Shell team after that two-car collision yesterday. Team collision, I should say. And we go back aboard with Wayne Gardner, and this is just a fabulous shot from the onboard 10 camera of just how hard it is working one of these big 600 horsepower monsters around the streets of Surfers Paradise. Look at him muscling the steering wheel there as he shifts up the 3rd gear, up to 4th, up to 5th, taking that edgeway. Gardner looking relatively relaxed. He adjusts his balaclava up to 6th gear, 220 kilometres an hour. Goes for a run down the inside of Longhurst. And I think he's done it. Beautiful, neat move. Longhurst could see him coming, gave him enough racing room, and they both got through there unscathed. Gardner giving a little wave to Longhurst. And that's a great move by Gardner.
Wayne Gardner now up into 6th position behind Neil Crompton, now ahead of Tony Longhurst. Don't forget the folks up the front. It's still Murphy who leads the way from Ingall. Perkins is still in 3rd, Jones 4th. Then we pick up Crompton in 5th. We go back on board with Wayne Gardner in the Coke Commodore around Conrad Jupiter's turn. And there's his teammate just drifting off into the distance.
This is the roar of that little Chevy V8 we ride with the 1987 World 500cc champion Wayne Gardner. Showed a lot of speed at Calder a few weeks ago to win the opening round of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. And boy, he's really hungry for success in 1997.
Out of the Honda hairpin onto the main straight. Now Gardner will be focusing on his teammate Neil Crompton. They finished 9th yesterday. Sorry, they did better than that. Neil Crompton finished 6th, Gardner did 7th. So, similar positions today.
So Gardner flying along here with a man who is really flying is Greg Murphy at the front of this pack. He's opened out the gap over Ingall for 2.5 seconds. He just brought the lap record down twice. A 56.4, now it's down to a 56.07. That Mobil 15 car is absolutely flying.
Mark, that's a sensational time. I made mention before about how precise you have to be around these turns to make a quick lap time. One of the problems with this track that it doesn't produce absolutely sensational passing moves is because when you get up behind the car in front, you can't see where you're going. so of course you fall back again, and then you come up again, but the actual passing move, there's probably about 2 places on the track that is a safe place to pass.
Just saw your top 10. There it is, up on the screen, 11 through 15. Brock, Johnson, Mazira, Reed and Osborne. So Brock is gradually working his way through the field. We'll go through, see how he works his way. Perhaps we'll get a shot of him soon. We're watching Mark Larkin with the Mitre 10 Falcon fight off the challenge from John Faulkner, the Fisher Paykel Commodore.
Larkham currently running in 8th, Faulkner in 9th, Ellery in 10th. It's the battle for the back of the top 10. Very competitive stuff as Larkham gets plenty of air under the Mitre 10 forward through the Foster chicane. I was talking to Neil Crompton about running around here yesterday, and he said it's just incredible when you're on a hot lap. You are so close to disaster all the time. You're really holding your breath as you fling the car through the corner because you have absolutely no room for error. There's our race leader, Greg Murphy. And I guess that's such an advantage, Charlie, when you're out there in clean air. You can just concentrate on stringing together a whole lot of nice, fast, consistent laps.
Well, I did say yesterday one of the best things if you are out in front is turn that rear vision mirror up a little. Don't look behind. Just concentrate on the road ahead and you will go faster.
Alan Jones focusing on Larry Perkins. This is the battle for 3rd and 4th. They come down into the Sunbelt chicane. Perkins doing well. Better result if he can stay where he is than yesterday's. Jones is working very hard. Good result for Alan yesterday in that 3rd position. We have a look at the split now. 1st to 2nd, Murphy now has a 3.37 gap. Lead over Russell Ingall.
Yeah, well, he may have broken the back of Ingall's challenge. He's just done another time 0.4 of a second faster than Russell Ingall. So Murphy well in control of this event, but Larry not so much in control of 3rd as Alan Jones really applies the pressure in the beautiful blue Komatsu Falcon. Swing on through Bartercard turn and down the back straight once again toward the Dime S's. Larry Perkins, mirrors full of blue forward as he gets over 200 kilometres an hour, braking hard for the Dime S's. Gap from Ingall back to Perkins, 4.7 seconds. So this is where the action is. Jones pushing hard. Larry Perkins gets a little bit sideways coming out of the Dime S's. He knows there's plenty of pressure behind.
I don't think it's going to be too long. We'll see Alan actually get past Larry. It's certainly better under brakes and around through the turns. Larry's car has got a little bit of horsepower advantage that we saw down the back straightaway, but it won't be too long in my opinion.
Working really hard. Perkins and Jones. The battle for 3rd and 4th. Neil Crompton isn't too far in arrears of this battle either.
Classic battle this. No love lost between Ford and Holden, and indeed between Larry Perkins and Alan Jones. They were great competitors back in British Formula 3 early in their careers. There were certainly some terse words between them in those days. And that level of competition has never faded off. Jones going on to a World Formula 1 Championship. Perkins not quite making it. I'm sure there's plenty of needle between these two.
It was Castrol Commodores 1-2 at the Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park not so long ago. But Ingall and Perkins didn't actually have such a good round at Calder Park in the opening round of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. That is Perkins' speed on the screen now. 208 kilometres per hour down the main straight with Alan Jones hot in pursuit.
Well, Murphy's not mucking around. He's still under the previous lap record pace of 1:56.39 that last time across. Everyone else operating in the 57s. Ingall at 57.2 that time through. So Murphy just has a dynamite race package and he's using every bit of it.
Plenty of time left for Alan Jones in regards to this particular battle. Only lap 9 of 19, so plenty left to run. Charlie, they're starting to get a little bit tired by now.
Oh, you certainly would be. The car, the tyres would be certainly stressing. The brakes would certainly be fading a little bit. You wouldn't have a solid brake pedal like you had at the beginning of the race. Towards the end, you probably even would lose a half a brake pedal. So it gets a little concerning when you're racing down there at the speed and finding that you're having struggle with the brakes.
And look at that great shot there, Charlie. Larry Perkins and Alan Jones, they've got the Coke duo. Neil Crompton and Wayne Gardner, they're closing the gap not only to the back of Jones, but Gardner now is closing on behind Crompton. So two great battles developing here as they hammer down the back part of the circuit toward the Foster chicane.
The Komatsu Falcon of Alan Jones, 3rd yesterday, currently sitting in 4th position. There's Crompton. The windscreen's O'Brien Coke entry, and we go on board now with his boss, Wayne Gardner, the second of the Coke cars. Really working all over the back of Neil Crompton. Remember, we were in this section of the track not so long ago and I said there is his teammate drifting off into the distance. Well, this is how much Wayne Gardner has caught up on Neil Crompton. Gardner is working overtime.
This is one thing Wayne Gardner would hate. being led by his teammate. Crompton beat him in the race yesterday. There's nothing he'd like better than to nail him here in Heat 2.
Up around the top section, coming out of the Honda hairpin, ready for the big main straight drag. They'll be on their 10th lap, so we're winding down into the latter half of this one now. Crompton starting to pull a little bit away from Gardner there, but they are really starting to work it hard.
The excitement builds as the V8 racing continues here. Greg Murphy now extending his lead to more than 4 seconds over Russell Ingall. Larry Perkins a similar margin back, but there is a great battle. Jones pressuring Perkins, and then Gardner pressuring Neil Crompton for 5th place. Longhurst, Larkham, John Faulkner, and then Steve Ellery. Please rejoin us after the break for the big ones.